Welcome! In this video we're going to hang some drapes or curtains. I'll show you how I measured for perfect placement, installed the brackets, mounted the rod, and wrapped it all up with stylish holdbacks. This decorative DIY will totally change the feel of your space. But this project threw at me some challenges that we will have to work through. You will learn a lot from them before you attempt your project, and a little surprise at the end. Let's go! Okay, this is what I picked up at Walmart. My daughter wasn't sure what final look she was going for with a window treatment, so we started with this inexpensive rod and plain blackout drapes. Also these matching holdbacks. You will see during the final reveal what she finally settled on. Either way, you will learn how to install yours no matter what you choose. So I unboxed the rods and cut open the brackets. Now within the packaging they do include drywall anchors, two different types, which I thought was great. Even though you'll see we end up not needing them. And of course detailed instructions. Make sure you read them. Let's get installing. I start by measuring the rough opening of the window because we need to determine the middle measurement of the window. I get 72 inches and 3/4. So 72 and 3/4, what I do is I take these little lines, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Half of 12 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3/8. Half of 72 is 36. So 36 and 3/8. So I put it at 36 and 3/8 on this end, and as you can see I marked on a piece of painter's tape the center of the window. Now from the center line, I want the end brackets to be 2 inches out from the side of the window, so that's 39 inches for me. And then I repeat that for the right side. With my tape measure hook on the center line, I marked on 39 inches. I'll explain next in a talk through another reason why I picked 39 inches and give you a recap. So this is the center of the window. I first measured the distance of the window, divided by 2. And I marked that line. It was 36 and 3/8. Then I know my drapes are 40 inches wide. So I measured out from that central line 39 inches, an inch short, and 39 inches, an inch short. I did it 1 inch short just to give it a little bit of variance. Here's a shot of me just putting an eye on how it will look before I start putting holes in the wall. Never hurts to do that. Next, I use my level to help me line up and position the bracket right where I want it, so I can mark the screw holes. So once I have my level leveled, I put the bracket against it and position just under my laser line. More on that in a second. Then I use a Sharpie to put a dot right where the screws need to be. So what I like to do is use my straight pick to push into the drywall through the screw holes. From experience, I can feel what fasteners or anchors I will need to use by doing this. I'm feeling I'm hitting wood. This is an outer wall, so there's no wood studs here. So I must be hitting a wood furring strip they use to attach the drywall to the cement block. What's stumping me a bit is my magnet that I use to find drywall screws is not picking up any that line up with my holes. It's off to the right. And there wouldn't be a wood header here because there's no studs here. The only thing to do is to try to drill in the screws that come in the packaging with the brackets and see if they bite. Now watch how the screw goes in the drywall, stops for a second, then continues to screw in with more resistance. That's how I know I hit wood. The second one screws in the same into a piece of wood, so I don't need to use an anchor. These brackets are designed for the screws to slip in the bigger hole, then slot down into the smaller hole, and then the screw head tightens down onto it and it's secure. So make sure you mark the holes in the middle of the smaller slot. I double check the bracket is level and tighten the screws their last few turns. And with a wiggle to test, this bracket is strong and done. To line up the next two brackets, I realign my laser to hit the bottom of the first installed bracket, just hitting the bottom. I position the other two the same way to mark my holes. The distance above the window you want your rod is up to you, but I suggest at least 2 inches minimum. If your curtains or drapes are to extend to the floor, you would put one on the rod to determine the bracket placement and have them either lightly touch the floor or hover off the ground your desired amount. Okay, the second bracket became a battle, nothing like the first one. I position the bracket against the level with the bottom hitting the laser line and then mark my screw holes. Again, marking the upper part where the screw head slots in. Here's a shot so you can see how this is shaped. You put the marking dot in the middle of the smaller part. Okay, my straight pick feels like it's hitting wood again, but you will see soon, I'd rather have hit nothing and used drywall anchors. I still don't detect drywall screws. Now this first screw goes in normal, but the second screw starts to turn sideways. I try to install the bracket to see how off it is. Maybe I can force it straight. but I quickly realized it's too off and I need to fix the top screw. So I take it back out and try again. Sometimes what happens, your screw hits the fastener they use to attach the furring strip to the cement block. The screw's not still going in straight, so I take it back out again. Here's a shot so you can see what this wood looks like behind the drywall from when I gutted and remodeled the bathroom in this room. I give up and move the bracket over a bit. No one will ever notice, and remark the holes. You're gonna see this attempt fails too, even worse. I still feel wood with my pick, so as long as I don't hit anything but wood, the screw should go right in. The first screw goes right in, but the second screw gives me trouble again. What also is happening, with the drywall chewed away with multiple attempts, the screw's not being held straight by the drywall, so it doesn't allow it to screw in straight. I tried to pre-drill the hole, which I should have tried sooner, and the screw goes in straighter. It's not perfect, so I force it straight and tighten the screws. And right when I think I got it, the bottom screw head breaks off. What a pain. So I use my locking pliers to unscrew it out, and let's go for attempt number 3. Now the reason why I'm not editing this all out is because this is how parts of DIY projects go sometimes. It's not always perfectly smooth. So I repeat all the steps, mark my holes, test with my pick, screw in the first screw. The second screw continues to be difficult, but I don't play around this time and pre-drill the hole. Finally, the second screw goes in straighter. I install the bracket and screw down the screws without them breaking. I was being real careful. These screws were really cheesy and weak. I did not want to do this again. Next, I want to touch up the wall with paint where my failed attempts damaged it. I don't even bother spackling it. I just shove paint in the holes. Finally, using Q-tips next to the bracket where I couldn't get the paintbrush, and remove the tape. Now I'm going to show you the third bracket really fast forward. It went as easy as the first bracket, so you don't need a play-by-play again. In my videos, I show you all the steps so you can get a full understanding of the project. That's why I'm still showing it to you. I want to also mention that if you don't have a laser to line up your brackets, just measure down from your ceiling. Okay, one final wiggle to test, and I remove the tape I used to mark my measurements. Let's hang the rod next and see if the brackets line up. So with the drapes pre-installed, I climb up my ladder and place the rod on the brackets, and everything's lining up perfectly. I set the length of the rod so that the end is sticking past the end of the brackets equally, and I'm going to show you next how to secure the rod to the brackets. So these screws that come in the packaging screw into a threaded hole that's in the bottom side of the bracket cup, and you have to use a small Phillips screwdriver to tighten them, or small pliers to turn the screw head. Don't crank them down. It just needs to be tight enough that the rod doesn't slide left or right as you open or close your curtains or drapes. Okay, as you watch me put the last screw in, I'm going to show you next the wrong and correct way to install the holdbacks. So you definitely want to watch this before you attempt yours. I first stretch out the top of the drapes across the rod. You can see how they would look like if they were fully closed, blackening out the light from the outside. You can also iron them before hanging. Here's a close-up of the matching holdbacks to the rods I bought. Okay, next I just simulate on one of the sides at what height and position I want them at. But you'll see soon, I should have had someone hold it for me, so I could have stood back for a better look. Are you noticing what's wrong yet? So next I mark my screw holes. I just use a Sharpie. And then you know what step is next. I slide the panel over and use my straight pick to feel what's behind the drywall. I'm still feeling wood. They must have surrounded the rough opening of the window with wide pieces of wood to install the drywall to. I was hoping to show you how to use a drywall anchor. Okay, I removed the finial. This one just pulls out, so I have access to the screw holes. And with a screw inserted in one of the holdback holes, I screw it in most of the way. Then I screw the second screw all the way, finally finishing off the first screw, and it's firmly secured. I reinsert and push the finial back on, and I just need to shape and adjust the drapes how I want them to look. Let's stand back and look. How about now? Are you noticing what's wrong yet? Let's install the second holdback. I first used this plastic protractor, or also called an angle finder, to find my angle, which was right at 45 degrees. And you can see how I have it lined up with the side of the window and parallel with the holdback. I'm using this arm and this arm for the 2 points of alignment. Now I'm going to use my laser to help me install the second holdback in the exact location as the first one. You can just measure up from the windowsill and over from the side of the window if you don't have a laser. I line up the laser line to the lower screw, and then on the opposite side I just need to know one measurement. How far from the window opening the screw goes on the laser line. So I take that measurement, and now I need to transfer that measurement over to the other side and mark my first screw hole. I next take my angle finder set at 45 degrees, line it up with the window opening, and put the holdback parallel to the second arm, lining up the bottom screw with my first mark. and marking my second screw hole. Now you know the rest of the steps. Take off the finial, use my pick to see what's behind the drywall, still feeling wood. Now I just screw in the screws. Remember, to make this easier for you if you want, use a drill bit to pre-drill the holes. I give it a wiggle and reinstall the finial. Now let me show you what I did wrong with the holdback install. Listen to this talk through and I'll show you the correct way afterwards, so you don't make the same mistake. So I don't like this. You see how you can see the light here and the light here? I put the holdback too much this way. It needs to go a little bit this way. So this is blocking the light. This is how they're supposed to be installed and look. This is my master bedroom. You see how no sunlight is shining through? Look how they're supposed to overhang the window with the area you attach to the wall just over from the window opening. So I hope seeing this helps you not make the same mistake. I should have had the girls hold that so I could see it and I would have noticed that. Now let me show you why it didn't matter. My daughter didn't want the style where the fabric is arranged with a holdback. She had me remove them and she changed it to these orange drapes. But that didn't last long either. Going into college, she wanted a more sophisticated look, which included changing the accent wall from weathered wood to this board and batten design. And here's what the room looks like today. She always knew she wanted green, but she wanted a darker green. To soften and lighten the bold wall color, she went with white sheer curtain panels. Definitely better looking than those boring gray blackout drapes. What do you think? Here's a reminder of before, and back to what she finally settled on. She loves the changes, and I hope this video gave you some ideas for your choices. She eventually went with different bedding. Here's a 360 spin so you can get a feel of the room. When you're a DIYer, you can change the feel and look of your home whenever you desire, without having to break the bank hiring someone to do it for you. So that's it. Please remember to hit the thumbs up if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe to watch more home DIY videos just like this one. Put any questions in the comments, and maybe I can help you with your project. If you're remodeling a bedroom, or just want to see a whole bunch of cool home DIY projects, click on the link on the screen to see a playlist of everything I did to remodel this bedroom for my daughter. Thanks for watching, keep on DIYing, bye now.